Okay, so it is Tuesday. You need to go to Teams and click on the PDF and open up the worksheet where it says factor by grouping, and we're going to work some together. You need to know how to do factor by grouping before we move forward. So, what's the first problem say? Britton, call that one out to me. 12x cubed plus 3x squared plus 5. Okay, let me get my... You notice that there are 4 terms here, right? We hadn't seen that before. So here's what you're going to have to do. You need a piece of paper to write on, and you need your computer open so you can see this, and you're going to be real diligent about not Googling around on other stuff, okay? You're going to take these 4, and you're going to divide them into 2 groups. Now, for the first few problems, they're probably going to give them to you in some kind of order that you don't even have to rearrange them. So I want you to cover up the back 2 and tell me, what do the first 2 have in common? Both of them have exponents. The first one has 3 as an exponent and the next one has 2. Do they both have numbers in common, like common factors? Do 12 and 3 have a common factor? Three is a common factor. They both have a 3, and they both have at least 2 x's in them. So I'm going to factor that out of the first 2. So this is like the backwards distributive property. What would you multiply 3 by to get 12? 4. What would you multiply x squared by to get x cubed? X squared is 2 x's, and you ended up with 3 x's. So you had to multiply by 1 x in order to get there. Because y'all know when you multiply x squared times maybe x to the 5th, y'all know that's x to the 7th, right? Yes? No? Tell me. It's okay to say I don't know that. Y'all just going to be quiet this morning? Is it because I got the video thing going? They can't hear you, I promise. Not a word. Not a word. Okay. If I multiply y to the 8th times y to the 5th, that is y to the 13th. Are y'all familiar with that concept? So over here, 3x squared times what gives you 3x squared? Well, it's the same thing. So it just means a 1, right? Okay. Now I did the first 2. I'm going to cover those up, and I want you to look at the last 2. Do 20x and 5 have anything in common? Well, they don't have any variables in common because 5 doesn't have a variable. Do they have any numerical factors in common? What is it? Okay, so they both have a 5 in them. So I'm going to put a 5 here, and I'm going to do the same little process. 5 times what gives you 20x? 4. But you got to have an x somewhere. It wasn't on the 5, so it had to be on the 4. 5 times what gives you 5? 1. Okay, now y'all look. When you factor by grouping, the stuff in the parentheses generally turns out to be the same. Do y'all see that? Okay. You pull it over here in like a common factor, okay? You do this one more time, but this time your common factor is the parenthesis. So you pull that out. Very similar to if I had 7x plus 20x. I'd pull the x over here, and then I'd be left with the 7 and the 20, okay? Very similar to that process. So I pull what's in common over here. 3x squared goes here. 5 goes here. This is factoring by grouping. Are you writing this down? Kind of weird. Gonna have to do another practice problem. We're gonna go on and do number 3. What does number 3 say? Okay. So you're looking at those? Got it written down? Remember, we take it 2 items at a time. So I'm going to cover up the last 2 items because I only want you to focus on the first 2. 8 and 36. Let's focus on the numbers. Do 8 and 36 have a common factor? Well, they're both even, so no, they both have a 2 in them, right? Anything bigger? 4. Okay, so 4 is a common factor. Do those 2 terms have any variables in common? T cubed and t squared, do they both have some t's? Yes. How many do they both have? Like if you went to taking them away, you could take 2 from both of them. You couldn't take 3 from both of them because this one doesn't have 3 to give away. But you could take 2 out of both of them. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. Any questions on how to figure out what number goes outside the parenthesis there? You okay with that? Okay. You need to be able to factor by grouping because some of your problems are going to have 4 members instead of just 3. Yes. Yes. If it has 4 terms, you try to factor by grouping. Okay? So 4 times what gives you 8t cubed? Well, 4 times what gives you 8? 2. I have 2 t's outside, and I ended up with 3 t's, so there must have been how many right here? 1. Okay. 4 times what gives you 36? 4 times 8 is 32. 9. I have 2 t's outside and 2 t's here, so did I pick up any t's on this? No, I did not. Okay. Now, y'all, I know you're looking at that and you say 2t plus 9, and you look up here and you're saying 2t plus 9. Something weird's going on. 2t and 9, they don't have anything in common, do they? When that happens, I want you to take a 1 out. Okay? They both have a 1 in common. Everything on earth has a 1 in common. So we're going to take out a 1. Is it really going to change anything? No, probably not. I'm going to factor it out of the 2t. I'm going to ask you, what did I multiply 1 by to get 2t? So what would that be? 2t. And what did I multiply 1 by to get 9? 9. I did that because I want the stuff in the parentheses to be identical. That's my goal. Because my next step is to take that parenthesis that says 2t plus 9, pull it over here, and take these outside pieces and put them in there. So it's 4t squared plus 1 in that one. Yes, because this parenthesis right here and this parenthesis right here are identical. Okay, so it's kind of like having 8x plus 7x. What do these have in common? X. So you take it out and you put what's left inside here. Okay? It's the same little process, except what I'm taking out is a whole parenthesis. That honestly, it's the same thing. I just didn't put a 1 over there. Yes. Thank you for asking that. Those are the same thing. Okay, let's do number 5. What does number 5 say? Okay. Okay. Y'all caught up with me? So I'm going to focus on those. Let's talk about the numbers. What do 9 and 6 have in common? 3. Do both of these terms have some m's? How many do they have in common? 2. So 3m squared is what sits on the outside. Now what's going to sit on the inside? What would you have to multiply 3m squared by to get 9m cubed? 3. Do you need any m's? You started with 2. You ended up with 3. Did you pick any up on the inside? 3m. I can put a 1 on it or I can leave it off. Doesn't matter. You okay with that? Okay. 3 times what's going to give me 6? 2. Now watch your signs. It's going to be minus 2 here. I had m squared outside, and I ended up with m squared, so I need anything here? No. Okay, let's move over here. What does 12 and 8 have in common? 4. Okay. 4 times what gives you 12m? 3. There was no m on the 4, so I had to have one on the 3 to get one in the 12. 4 times what's going to give me 8? Negative 2. Does the stuff in the parentheses match? Then you pull it over here, and the stuff that's left forms the second parenthesis. Okay? On the page that you've pulled up on Teams, at the top of it, it says 8-8 practice. We've done 1, 3, and 5. I want you to do 7, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 21. I want you to finish the odd problems on, it says page 255 at the bottom, the PDF. Okay? Does that make sense? You think that makes sense to them at home? Okay, I hope so.